I dressed in a suit, man, and I would just go door to door. Car dealerships, gyms, whatever it was. I was just trying to get hired, and nobody was hiring. As you know, my dad and I, we got in the dispensary business, right?
Yeah.
Before they started giving out all these permits and everything else. That was when it was kind of like the Wild Wild West, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we went into business and threw that one up like overnight. And it was nice. It was good. I think we helped a lot of people. But, unfortunately, we heard the DEA was coming to town and kicking in doors, and it just wasn't worth it to us to stay, even though we were paying our taxes and we were fully legit. It just wasn't worth it to get rolled up and go to prison, man.
That seemed interesting because, you think it's legit, but then it sounds like there was some other stuff going on.
Well, yeah, so they were basically saying it was going to be state legal, right? But it's not federally legal. But then it wasn't state legal at that time. So as you know, everybody was just kind of popping up everywhere, right? And we had partners, of course, and they were all trying to bail, and I was going to keep it open, just like run it how I was running it. And then, my dad was just like, nah, let's just call it good,
Yeah.
try to get some permits and we got all of our building permits, but they came out with new codes, and you couldn't be this close to here and you couldn't be this close to there. You got to be in an industrial area, so on and so forth. So
Yeah, because I heard that was, from what I remember, I heard there was like a fine or something every day you had to pay, kind of like a fee.
yeah, we were paying like $1,000 a day.
So that is true,
To
because
be
I
there.
always thought that.
Yeah.
That's
And
wild.
then we just decided, you know what, it's probably time to.
Because I don't remember exactly what you guys were, I don't know your guys' money, what you were making, but I remember the weekends there were people out the door.
Yeah, there was like 70, 80 grand a weekend, like a day, per day. But all of that was getting split between the investors and the consultants and the product and the funds and
How
all that
old
kind
were
of
you
stuff.
at the time?
Man,
You were young.
yeah, so I was probably, let's see, I think my son, what was he, 5? I think he was 5. So I was 31.
31, wow.
Yeah, because I'm almost 45 now. Yeah, I was just hitting 30, 31 right in there.
Pretty young for so much responsibility.
Yeah, because I had just gotten out of, I just finished baseball career, right? So, and finished college, and then I came home, and, my son's mom actually had passed away. So I had gotten full custody, and I kind of didn't know what to do with myself at that time because, you got all these aspirations about playing pro ball, and I played a lot of, independent ball. I played in Tokyo, played in the Mexican League, played in El Paso, kind of played everywhere and banged around. It just wasn't fueling enough to support a family, and also you kind of figure out that you're just not good enough anymore to stand with those guys, and somebody's always going to be better than you, no matter the amount of work you put in. That's why you just got to work harder. You got to work harder than everybody else. You got to start being smarter. And after being released so many times, I was just like, you know what, my career is probably pretty much done in baseball. It's time to figure out what I want to do in business. I got a business degree, got a master's degree, and might as well use it. Right?
That's what I was interested in. How did you become, or how did you get into the entrepreneurship? And
So
all that?
I've always been a hustler. It's like even before you met me, like I was living in Las Cruces before my son was born, and I couldn't get a job. After baseball, I just couldn't get a job. I remember dressing in a suit every single day, and back then the internet was small, right? You still had a hand in your application, and I dressed in a suit, man, and I would just go door to door, car dealerships, gyms, whatever it was. I was just trying to get hired, and nobody was hiring. There was this Gold's Gym in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and the guy's name was Chris. He managed the gym, and I used to go in there and I'd be like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'll take any position. I don't care if it's cleaning toilets. Like, I need a job. He's like, oh man, you look the part. You got a degree. It's great. He's like, but I don't have nothing for you. I mean, a lot of college kids here, and there's just not a lot of jobs. I said, all right. So I started going back every single day because it was on the stretch, right? The town wasn't that big. So I just made a stop every day. And every day he'd be like, Tony, I tell you the same thing every single day. I don't got nothing for you. And I was like, I think you're making a mistake, man. Like, I'll clean toilets, I'll sell memberships, I'll do whatever it takes. Like, I know fitness and I know how to sell. He's like, I just can't hire you. Finally, after like 3 weeks, I still hadn't had a job. I went in there one day and he's like, God damn it, Tony. Like, I told you I don't got a spot. He's like, but I need an opener. Can you open at 3 a.m.? I said, I'll be there. He's like, you're hired. So he's like, you open at 3 a.m. Some people buy memberships. You got to clean the gym. You got to do this. You got to turn everything on. I was like, I can handle that. So he's like, you'll work 3 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then, you're good. So I started doing that and I started selling all these memberships in the morning. And he's like, how are you selling all these memberships at 3 a.m. in the morning? I said, I keep telling everybody to come in the morning because it's the best time to come. And I sign them up on memberships.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but how are you doing? And I said, I'm telling every single person in town to come at 3 a.m. because it's the best time to work out. And I'm there, So he's like, man, would you want another shift like during the day and sell memberships? And I was like, I thought you had a guy. And he's like, we do. But like, I think maybe it'll motivate him a little bit if you came on board then. If you can open and then maybe come in for an hour each day in the afternoon and see what you can do, we'll try you out. So started doing that, started coming in the afternoon. And then this guy came in. I'll kind of tell you the whole story, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Before I met you. So this guy came in from, it's called Buick Pontiac GMC in New Mexico, right? Saboro sales or whatever it was. And he goes, his name was Matt. And he goes, hey, Tony, like, man, you sold my wife a membership. You sold every guy at the dealership a membership. Like, you ever thought about selling cars? And I was like, I could sell anything, man. You teach me, you tell me what to do. I'll study the product and, we'll see what we can do. And back then it was like, you had to hustle. Like, it wasn't like, give me, it was old school. It was like people come on a lot and it's not like now where like internet, go there, buy the car or whatever. So I started selling like 15, 16 cars a month, dude. And it's just like, I told the gym, I was like, I can't work here no more. Like, like I was working both. I was opening in the morning, doing that 1 hour there, and then working there basically from 1 to close, 6, 7, 8 at night. And I just started selling cars, man. And then after a year, just about, and I was making good money, but like there wasn't really any benefits. It was all commission. You had a slow month. They didn't have draws in. So like you either get paid or you don't. So if you don't sell any cars, you sell one car, it's $250, a mini or whatever they called it back then. And so this guy came in from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. He was a VP, and I sold him a brand new GTO. I said, oh, man, you're able to buy this GTO off the floor with the markup. Like, what do you do? He's like, I'm a VP for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I said, oh, the car rental place, right? And he goes, yeah. He's like, we're basically the foundation for high-level executive salespeople that all come out of our company eventually and go work for bigger corporations. He's like, but you got to work hard. He's like, do you have a degree by any chance? I said, yeah, I do. He goes, all right, here's this number. Call in. He said, we need people like you. So he's like, you're going to wash cars in suits. You're going to wash cars. You're going to wash it in suit. And you're going to work 10, 12-hour days for very little pay. So I was like, you know what? Does it have benefits? I got a kid coming. Like, does it have this? He's like, yep. So did the interview, got hired on, went to Enterprise Rent-A-Car, left all the other stuff. And it was in El Paso, Texas. So I'm driving El Paso every day, which is only like 35 minutes from Las Cruces, 40 minutes or give or take. And I'm literally washing cars in suits and selling like damage waiver, right? Because that's how you got to get higher. Like, oh, you want damage waiver with that? Before, it wasn't like, oh, my insurance will cover it. Before, like, you either take it or you die. Like it's you wreck the car, you pay for
you
it.
pay for it.
So I sold the highest percentage of damage waiver in that region for like 12 months in a row.
Wow.
Became an assistant manager of that branch and then became an assistant manager of the El Paso airport. And then just worked my way up, man, and was making really good money. Then I became a branch manager of 2 branches. So that's kind of how I got my start into like really working with and learning how to build relationships as far as like big executives at corporate companies to got to get rental agreements, hotels, with the airports. People were always flying in, right? We need a corporate account. So I started building relationships and started thinking like, okay, there's really something to this as far as relationships is where you get the sales, right? And just talking to people, building those relationships, and eventually it's going to build into something bigger. Of course, I wasn't always just drive about the money. Like I was learning and I was teaching myself along the way, and I was reading all these books of like, how to win friends and influence people, the seven, habits of being successful. And, you know, um,
Do you think you were a natural in sales?
I think so. Just because I'm a very outgoing person, like I'll talk to anybody. I'm not afraid of no. And it like no in the beginning pissed me off, right? Because like, oh no, I don't want that. And it's just like, why? Like
Yeah.
why? And then in the no's, you started getting a lot of no's. Like, no, I don't want that. All right, no problem. Well, tell me why you don't want it. And then you start digging a little deeper. Well, what if I told you this? What if I told you that? What if I told you this? Then you started wanting the no's, right? Because then you're basically teaching them into a sale to say yes. And you're going to get no's all day long. But
Yeah.
eventually there's a yes. So it became like I'm an athlete, like it became a chore. It became a job. It became training for me to train my mind to get people to say yes. So I always loved no because I knew a yes was coming eventually.
It seems to me like athletes make good salespeople. Maybe the discipline that it takes, the training.
I think it's discipline. A lot of people think, oh, you got to be motivated. You got to be motivated. I think motivation is part of it, but really it comes down to being disciplined, right? I get up at 3:30 in the morning every single day. And it's not because I want to. It's because my body's programmed to now get up at 3:30 in the morning. I sit for 15 minutes. I read. I jump on the Peloton. I do about an hour bike ride depending on my time frame. And then I get in my sauna and I do cold plunge. I'm a routined, disciplined person. So there's not a day that goes by that I don't want to do that because I challenge myself, right? I don't want to get up and get in that tub that's 36 degrees. I just don't. Like who the fuck wants to get in a tub like that? Who wants to get on the Peloton and
I've
ride
never
20
been in
miles?
one, so
It becomes to where you feel like if you don't do it, somebody's going to beat you. And, I'm pretty high level executive in my company, but at the same time, I have other companies of my own that I'd rather get out from under corporate and be the man, right? And I think in this day and age, you have to win every day. And if you don't, somebody else will. And you can see it. I mean, it's big in Sacramento. It's big everywhere on this planet. Everybody's on Instagram doing coaching or what have you, and it's successful.
it does seem like the competition's like really big in the space nowadays.
It's huge. You got big time guys like Wes Watson and these guys, coming in and coaching, and they are complete masterminds. These guys have figured it out, and it's nothing that we don't know. It's all about what you're willing to put in. And it's all about, I know maybe some people don't believe in the universe or what have you, right? But the universe, if you're around somebody that's so successful, all these people that are so successful, eventually that energy is going to pour into you. And that's how I feel. I feel that at some point, it's like all about how you hang around, right? Show me the 5 people to hang around, I'll show you the rest of your life.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. If you hang around with drug dealers and losers and alcoholics, you're probably going to be a drug dealer, loser, and alcoholic. I hate to say it.
True.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So the space is huge. The space in fitness, the space in supplements, the space in coaching, the space in speaking. Everybody's got their take on what it takes.
Right.
So
I see you're in like a very competitive space. Like I said, I saw your protein brand or
yeah, no surrender.
supplements,
Yeah.
and it seems like really good product and everything. But I was thinking too, it's like how does that? How did you come up with that? How did you put that into the market? What did it take? Because it seems like something that's very hard to do.
the supplement business is so oversaturated. But at the same time, so are podcasts, right?
Sure, of course.
But you want to do something that you want to do and that you have love for and that you've been around your whole life. And you've been around talking to people your whole life. You've been around, all kinds of different people, in the ghetto or wherever, know. And it's just like, if you really love something and you believe in something, and I love working out, I love helping people, I love fitness, and I love health. So I said, you know what, I'm going to start my own brand. So I started developing, I got with a production company, and, they're all lab tested, FDA approved. And, you start testing products and you start deciding, what do you want in your products? How are you going to be different? Of course, most of the products are the same, right? You can add little things here, add little things there to make them better and healthier for you, but you may not get the goodest pump, or you get a stupid pump or whatever. But I have to say right now, my best selling supplement that I have, because it's different, is my protein. And the reason why it is because it's 100% micronized cold pressed protein with added digestive enzymes. It's only got 1 gram of carb, 1 gram of sugar, and it's got very little calories. So it's going to shred you up, and it's so smooth to drink. So as I'm passing out samples to all these big time people that use, big time products, they're like, oh my God, it's the best protein I ever had. I think it's because it took me 2 years to really figure it out. Right. And it made it so it's not chalky. It's not gross. It's not this. Okay. So I like the space, even though, yeah, it may not.
You know what I always tell everybody, because, I'm in business somewhat too. And
yeah,
I tell everybody that if there is no competition, it's probably not a good thing.
Right.
Because all you have to do when there's a ton of competition, all you got to do is try to channel the attention towards you. But when there's so much competition, everybody can get a piece of the pie.
That's right.
And
just like you with your company, right? You started your company because I'm sure you knew a lot of people. And you knew a lot of people that needed help with their houses or what have you. You built all those relationships, and people get the work done because they like you.
Yeah.
They don't get the work done because they know your company, or they don't go anywhere else. They don't go anywhere else because they like you and they like your partner. They buy from people they like, right? And then once they get the service that you give them, they're never going to go anywhere else. Right. So I feel like in my business as owning the supplement company is that people like me. They buy from me. Not necessarily that they like the product yet, because they trust me that the product's going to be good. And I open honest opinions. I want those, like, oh, bro, that tastes like shit. Like, I hate that flavor. Yeah. And people have said that. I remember passing out a sample in the gym to one of my pre-workouts, and it's like pina colada. It's like super good, right? And everybody loves it. And this guy I go, hey, man, hey, Jacob, how did you like the supplement? He's like, God, dude, I couldn't even put it in my mouth. I wanted to fucking throw up. It's like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I couldn't even tell you how it is because it's so fucking gross, And I was like, so there's people that just hate certain things. There's people that love certain things.
Yeah.
You can't please everybody, but him telling me that thing said, boom, I need a couple more flavors. I can't just roll with this one.
Right.
Because some people are going to fucking hate it,
Yeah.
So the people give you feedback, like if your shipping sucks, they're going to tell you your shipping sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's good to have feedback. And I don't know if you heard this thing by Elon Musk. He talks about how if you want to know if you're doing good or if your idea is good, listen to your friends and family, because they'll criticize you and you'll kind of get tips from it. I'm sure there's two sides to that, because then you get the people that are all overly negative. They never do nothing with their life, so they're like hating on you. So what do you think of that?
I think it's 100% correct, but you're going to get hate. I get so many messages every single day. Like, dude, I mean, it's like, at first it kind of hurt my feelings, right? Because I was like, what the fuck, man? I never did anything to this person. Like, I'm just on here trying to help people. Oh, you're a fucking poser. You're a little bitch. A little this, like.
Well, you don't want to see what they say about us.
And it's just like, you look at it and it's like, all right, I don't fucking care. You know, I'm going to do me. I'm going to wear my chain and wear my tank top, and I'm going to do me. I'm going to act me, and I'm going to still help people.
Yeah.
The only reason, if you're not getting hate from people, you're not doing a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
hear
all
that
there
a
is
lot.
to it, right?
Yeah, Grant Cardone. I don't know if you
I
listen to him.
love Grant
He
Cardone.
says that if you're don't waste a hater. Say use it as motivation.
Yeah,
Say
yeah.
never waste a hater.
No, you love it. You know,
Yeah.
you eat it up. The more haters that comment on your page or send you messages, you know you're getting to everybody. You know, and
And you become immune anyway. Like it doesn't really matter. Like I literally sit there and laugh with my wife. She's like, "You're not offended?" Somebody said I look like a meatball that ate 12 meatballs. We just laugh about it now. It's an inside joke. But we're not gonna take that from people because there's a lot of people out now that aren't really doing anything else with their life and they want to
yeah,
criticize online or someone who's doing something. But the motivational speaking space,
yeah.
how is that?
It's been going good. It started out from nothing, right? I just kind of started doing little talks in my sauna,
I noticed that.
just like talking to people about daily aspirations or telling people like they can do it. You know, you can be you. Like thoughts become things. Whatever you think about, you can do it. Change your mind, change your life, right? My saying is win the day, win the night, win your life. And I believe it. If you win the day, you win the night, you win your life, you go on to the next day and you got to do it fucking again. You know, some people are too caught up. They think if like, oh, I did a good job, I won the sale today, and then they just go take fucking 2 weeks off. What is that doing to you? What, you're going to go celebrate? Celebrate what? One win? You got to win every day.
That's true.
You know, so the motivational speaking, I kind of got into it. I was scared, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, I've always talked to people and helped people, but I never like really just went for it, you know, on camera or anything. And I just started talking and like, I started getting all these messages and emails and like, hey man, you're like, speak really good. We love your energy. We love what you're talking about. We love, you know, who we are. And we would like to hire you. Right. So I'm like, hire me. I mean, I'll do it for free. Like I need to get my name out there, you know? So, first gig was like at the Realtors of Sacramento Association.
Okay.
My wife actually booked it for me and I'm like, oh, how's the crowd? You know, like, she's like, oh, there'll be like, you know, 30, 40 people there. And, you know, I was like, cool. So, you know, I get prepared, right? What I'm going to talk about and, you know, how life is and how we do things and how hard work is. And I walk in the room and it's just like 50, 60-year-old people. And I'm like, fuck, this isn't what I prepared for. So I had to switch gears. I had to switch gears into basically, you know, telling them like, I switched gears immediately and be like, how are you feeling with the market today? What are you doing to change it? Are you at the bar with all these other realtors at 12 p.m. thinking like, oh, I'm doing business, but really you're getting fucked up? You know, and it kind of just rolled from there.
Yeah.
And then they all loved it. It was like, whoa, you know, you motivated us to go out there and do better even when times are tough. I said, well, when the times are tough, that's when you get the most out of it, right? Because everybody else is going to give up.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to get depressed. Everybody else is just going to go to the bar and they're going to maybe turn into an alcoholic, you know, and maybe never come back, maybe lose all their business. I've had a friend like that, you know, and it's sad to see, but I think you have to have the mindset of always trying to win no matter what kicks you down. You know, for example, you know, look where you started, bro, like doing security and, you know, tackling guys in the parking lot and, you know, just whatever, but you always been a hustler, right? Because you've always had that mindset. Like, I don't want to be here with these people. I'm not going to live like these people. I'm going to show people that whatever you put your mind to, you can do. Now you're running a multi-million-dollar business. So it just takes a mindset of never fucking quitting.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Do you think that because you used to own the cannabis
Yeah.
business? Do you? Because a lot of people say I can smoke, I can drink, I can still do fine. How do you think that would impact people that do it every day?
I don't smoke and I don't drink. So I don't, if I drink, it's on vacation. And even then lately, it's like, God damn, I don't really like it. I don't think people can separate what they have. I think, you know, they go have a couple drinks. It's fine. I don't dog anybody for anything. I think if they can handle themselves and they can function and it's, you know, being around people and socializing thing, you know, you do what you do, man. That's you. If you can do that and you can still succeed and you can still beat somebody in the morning, that's fine. I don't judge anybody, man. I don't judge you if you go home and get high all night and play video games, because you know
The
what?
only reason why I mentioned that is because Uncle G talks about how he doesn't care how good you think you are. If you're smoking weed and he's not, he feels like he's gonna beat you to something every time.
100%.
So not that we're not as far as from a judgmental standpoint, but I'm talking about from competition in the place, because you hear about Kevin O'Leary talks all the time. He says, "Hey, look, every single day, even when you go to sleep, somebody in China or somewhere else is trying to take your brand and trying to beat you. So you always have to just be ready for whatever it takes."
Absolutely. You know, you don't have a crisp mind, right? I mean, we've all smoked weed before.
Right.
It makes you fucking lazy. It makes you lazy.
True.
And it makes you hungry. It makes you dumb, fat, and stupid and tired is what it does, right? So how are you going to compare to the guy that's dumb, fat, stupid, and tired when you're not? You're going to run circles around him, you know? And like he says, the guys in China is trying to steal your business. I work with a big corporate company. I'm a vice president of sales for a biotech company, Primary Packaging. I sell containers to big drug companies, which mean vials, syringes, pre-filled syringes, all that kind of stuff for big time drugs that save people's lives or vaccines or whatever it may be. But, you know, I was just in Tokyo not too long ago. And if you go to Tokyo, if you ever been there, the people there work and they're constantly doing business. They don't care what time it is. They stay up late, they do business, but they don't start work and don't get up usually till 7 a.m., right? But they're a day ahead.
Okay.
So they start sending emails when we're going to bed. So my customers sending me, I'm laying in bed, they're sending emails, right? Well, I'm answering them because I don't want to miss the opportunity.
Right.
Tony, what are you doing up so late? I don't want to miss opportunities. So that's another reason why I get up so early, no matter what time I go to bed, is because I don't want to miss opportunities. All the time zones that I run are always 3 hours ahead, 15 hours ahead, 4 hours ahead, 2 hours ahead. Everybody's ahead. So if I'm up at 3:30 in the morning, I'm not going to miss shit. Like, it doesn't matter.
Do you think that your vision of what you want for your future is what's really driving you to be disciplined every day? Because we talked about, like, you can have motivation, but you have to be disciplined because motivation runs out sometime, you know?
Yeah. And I
You might
think
have a bad day.
I've fallen off. You know, I can't sit here and tell you that I can stay 100% every single day. I have fallen off. I've fallen off many times. I've gotten fucking fat. I've fallen off, gotten demotivated, de-disciplined. It just happens. And I'm in the zone right now for the last couple of years from when I got put in the hospital with COVID and I was dying. I don't know if you guys knew
No, I
that.
haven't heard about that, no.
Yeah, I got COVID pneumonia.
Wow.
You know, we all sit here and think that it wasn't real, right? I did the same thing. And I got it. And I got put in the hospital and I was dying.
Wow.
They told my wife, they sent a priest to the house.
Wow.
He said he's not going to make it through the night.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
get your things in order. He's just not going to make it. And I was in a cold, I was in a hospital, and I was in a cold chamber because my temperature was so high.
Wow.
And I had COVID pneumonia, so I couldn't breathe. So I was on oxygen and stuff. And I think at that moment and sitting there thinking that they're all telling me I'm not going to make it, you know, tell your wife
Were you
love her.
conscious of it? Like you could.
I woke up and I was conscious, but like, you know, you're just thinking like, fuck, man, I can't even get up, go to the bathroom or tie my shoe or move or do anything. And, you know, my wife and family can't come here because it's COVID.
Yeah.
They won't let them in.
Yeah.
So I'm on my phone, I'm texting, I'm calling, and she's like, the doctors told me you're not going to make it. And I was like, what? Like, the fuck I ain't, you know? Like, so I honestly just sat there and prayed. And I made it through the night, and then I made it. And then at the end of it, trying to go home, they said I was going to need a lung transplant. I wasn't going to ever be athletic again. I was going to be on oxygen for 8 to 12 months in my house, not be able to leave my house. And I think that's what really set me to the point to where I knew I had to like just go balls deep, like just go. Because I was at home. I got home with oxygen. I could barely move. And my wife got me this little puppy. Her name's Betty. She's my pride and joy. And she made me get up at night and take the dog out. Like the dog kept getting me up at night. I had this long oxygen cord through the house. So I'd walk all through the house and go sit outside and try to breathe, right? You see me still breathing hard sometimes here. That's my lungs still aren't full capacity. But, you know, I used to set my oxygen tank kind of far away. And my wife's like, what are you going to do? You're going to kill yourself. Like, put it back on. I said, no, I got to start training my body. Because there's no fucking way I'm sitting in this house for 8 months on oxygen and then getting a lung transplant. It just ain't happening.
Yeah.
Every day I would set it further and further and further. And there's a couple times I fucking passed out. You know, like you push yourself so hard, you just pass out. And I think I taught myself to push so hard to get better that it just happened. And since then, I don't want to ever take life for granted again. Because there's so many things out there that people can do and that you can do. And if you want to be something, if you want something, I feel if you put enough time and work into it and never give up, eventually you'll get it. And that's what you say, do you see yourself, holding this discipline and motivation for the rest of your life and see yourself having all your goals and your hopes and dreams? And I fucking do. I just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I got to keep going.
What kind of, so like seeing that you're pretty much thinking you might die, or maybe you didn't, maybe you're like, that's not going to happen. Like how did that sit with you?
I cried, man. And every time, like even going home, I cried and it hit me. I cried because they were just pounding it in me. Like, you're never going to do this. You're never going to do that. You're never going to do this. And I started believing it. And then I like sat there and I remember sitting there and I was trying to take a piss. I was trying to go to the bathroom because I had to piss in this thing all the time because I couldn't get up and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because the oxygen cords wouldn't let me, right? And I'm sitting there and I was like, you're not a fucking man. Like, you're going to sit here in this hospital bed and fucking piss in this tank? Like, get the fuck up. Let's go. You're not going to be this way. You're not going to die. You're not going to do this. You got things you want to do in life. It's time to go. So I got up and I just like huffled myself to the bathroom. They're like, what are you doing? I was like, I got to try and get out of here. I got to try and go home. There was this nurse in the hospital and they were going to put me on a ventilator because I wasn't going to make it. And he leaned over to me and he said, you go on that ventilator, you're going home in a body bag. Straight up. And I was like, he's like, deny it. Deny it. He's like, I'll work with you. And I was like, okay. So he was my nurse from like 8 p.m. all the way to the morning. And the oxygen things beep whenever it goes below like 97, right? He's like, listen, if you want to get out of here and go home, if you want to get out of here alive, you're going to have to train your lungs. I said, I'll do whatever I got to do. He's like, we're going to lower that beep. We're going to lower that beep so it doesn't go off until it hits 90. He's like, you're going to feel like you're going to suffocate and die. He's like, but we got to start training your lungs. He's like, do you trust me? I said, yeah.
To breathe again?
To trust me. So I was like, yeah. I was like, so he started doing it and we started doing this breathing machine and we started doing all this stuff. And he's like, dude, you're the best guy that ever listened to me and like wants to get out of here. And I ended up going home 10 days later. So
wow.
If you have somebody that believes you can do it, I think that helps, right? Because not everybody's going to believe in you.
Right.
I had a conversation with a gentleman the other day and he's young. He's like 20 years old. And I don't think anybody has ever believed in him before, And I told him, I was like, you got to believe in yourself. Before anything, you have to believe in yourself.
How do people get to believe in themselves when they really doubt themselves all the time? Like, I don't seem to have that issue. I wake up almost feeling like I'm my own person in the world. I just think about myself, whatever. But I know there are people out there that don't really believe they could do it, and they can. They just don't believe it.
But you ever had doubts when you wake up in the morning like, fuck, man, I don't know, man, I'm just not there today?
I do. I think we all have them, and I do. And then, but one thing I learned is to condition myself when I get the thoughts to say, hey, no. You can be like this for an hour or two, but let go of it quick.
Yeah. I feel you. And I think what it takes to believe in yourself, I think you gotta fail. I think you gotta really fail. And I think you gotta pick yourself up and you gotta win. And I think that, like, even teaching my 18-year-old son, right? He's afraid to fail. He's afraid. and he's not going to college, and he wants to learn a trade or learn a profession and get in the real world, and it's going to be tough. I never really believed in school. I went to school because I played sports, and I got a degree from it, and then I ended up getting another degree. But it's helped me in my life get to where I am today because the companies that I've worked for don't let anybody work there without a degree.
Okay, I see.
So I've been lucky, right? It all shaped in a full circle to where me going, I don't want to wear the suit for the rest of my life. I don't want to wear a monkey suit, and I wear a suit all the time. So
So do you think that it's still like you should still nowadays go to college, or do you think that companies are changing? Because like you saw Apple, Google, and Elon Musk talks about this all the time, how, hey, you don't need to have a degree to be smart, like we'll hire you. So do you think that's changing?
I think it's always been there. I think there's a lot of companies that don't require a degree, and I think that's great because in all honesty, like, what do they teach you in school? I didn't learn shit. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't learn anything. I had one teacher in business that actually put us in real life scenarios, and that was the only teacher that ever did it. But other than that, I mean, humanities and this and that, and it's, to be honest, and I'll probably get a lot of pressure for this or a lot of kickback, but it's fucking worthless. It is.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, and like my son, like, I don't think he should go to school if he wants to try and learn a trade. I think you have to learn to be good at something, though. If you're not going to go to school and you're working at fucking McDonald's the rest of your life, which McDonald's is a good job. Don't get me wrong. Managers make good money.
Right.
And people work there and they love it. I'm not saying that's a bad job. A job is a job. It's a great job. But I'm saying have some goals and some aspirations and learn to do more. So for me telling him, like, dude, if you're not going to go to school, I want you to have a career. I want you to either like get in a union or learn a trade or be a welder, something that you enjoy. Like, do something you love. And then you become good at it. And when you become good at it and you love doing what you do, you become the best there is at it, right? In your mind and in your persona to other people see you. And you get whatever job you want. In that process, I don't think you need to go to school. I really don't. Some of the most successful people in this world have never been to school. You learn from the streets. You learn from experience.
Right.
And you and I know both that that's where we learned most of our stuff. We learned from talking to people.
True.
And we learned from being in situations and gaining that information and gaining that knowledge to progress our lives as we are today. So in my personal opinion, I don't think you need school. I think that if you have grit and you have the determination, the discipline, and the motivation to be great, and you're willing to do what it takes and you're willing to struggle, I think you can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
What do you think it takes to be a good entrepreneur?
I think it takes heart. I think it takes a strong mind. I think it takes a strong body. I think it takes grit, man. It's so hard, right? Even with the supplement company, like, I mean, I'm getting 1, 2, 3 orders a week. Sometimes I'll do $1,000 in a week, but like, that isn't shit. You got these guys like First Form doing millions of dollars a day, right? Yeah. And they built it from nothing. So I think if you just stick doing it, keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and it may not work out. You may have to switch gears, right? You may have to switch gears and do something else, or you may have to come out with a different product, or you may have to like be a motivational speaker or do whatever you want to do to be an entrepreneur. I think if you're open-minded and willing to switch those gears and willing to learn from everybody else, because if you have that drive and you never fucking quit, then you can succeed at some point.
I think it is important to stick to something long enough to see the results of it, because I think a lot of people either get in it, like they have ideas and they get in it and they don't see results, and then they kind of fall off. Me being in business for like the last 6-7 years, I know that there's been times where like, man, I could have probably made more money being a salesperson somewhere.
Right.
And you don't think about it, but then you get over that, that little hump, and then you start to see the future again. What do you think, like, if I want to be an entrepreneur, if I want to get in business, like I have my cousin, for example, recently decided that he's not going to go to school. He doesn't even want to finish high school. what would he be his way into entrepreneurship? Because in my opinion, I feel like most entrepreneurs, and I hear you talking about how um, similar to how Mark Cuban talks about his story, how he started, harassing people in a way to give him a job, gets into sales, starts selling. And is sales the entryway?
I think if you can learn people and you can learn how people react and learn, you can read people and know yourself and you can learn, I think that sales is a very good start, because without the baseline of selling people something, how are you going to sell yourself? How are you going to sell your product? Or, entrepreneurship, it's either a product, a skill, yourself, or whatever it may be, right? How are you going to sell those things if you don't know how? How are you going to sell those things if you never have before? You got to start somewhere.
Right.
It all starts with selling yourself. He's selling himself to you, telling he doesn't need to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, why?
Right.
Tell me why. That's his opportunity to sell himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
He already is in sales. He just doesn't know it yet. So I think entrepreneurship is all about building relationships, selling yourself, and never giving up. I think every single day you got to work on your craft.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that now, in this climate in U.S., because I was talking to somebody about this today, how we have to be very careful when you're in business. Politics do kind of influence, new rules, new policies. They influence how you do business. And in our country, because we have elections every 4 years, you could have every 4 to 8 years, things can change. How do you kind of stay ahead of that, and how do you even plan to?
I don't think that you do plan. I think you always be your fucking self. We all know what side we're on, right? We all know our beliefs, and it's not even about picking a side. It's about being your fucking self, and never let anybody around you tell anything different. Now, you can always avoid confrontation, but always keep your beliefs and your core values. I don't think that you should change anything about yourself to do business. I think people need to know who you are, where you stand, but you don't need to fight them on it. Nobody needs to fight each other on red or blue or whatever the fuck it is, or he or she or that or they or them or whatever, right? I think that if you stick to your core values and you stick to yourself and you always be your fucking self, it'll always work out. I think it is very hard in business, because are you going to say the right thing or the wrong thing in a meeting? Right? I know not to bring up politics.
Right.
I know not to bring up politics, because once you do, somebody could look at you differently and you could lose a deal, right? But I think you got to be yourself, but you also got to be fucking smart.
Yeah, you have to also, because I hear a lot of people talk about how you should have different your face. I don't know if you heard about that book, Laws of Human Nature. It talks about different faces you should have and different.
Yeah, everybody's this guy. You got to be a chameleon, right?
I had one of my salespeople that they said, "Oh, if there was a guy who said if you were a Trumpy, I wouldn't give you this deal," and he just laughed.
And then what'd you say?
Well, he just laughed about it. Oh yeah, just made
And then
a joke
you
out
just
of it.
laughed with him, because
Yeah,
it didn't matter what you said. It didn't matter your beliefs, because in your core values, in your mind, you know who the fuck you are.
Right.
Because no matter what you say or do, you're not going to change his mind, right? But you still want the business.
Yeah, I think that money doesn't. It's like really money is probably the only thing that doesn't have a lens that they see people through politics or no matter what. If somebody wants to buy something, we're gonna sell it to them, and we're gonna do businesses. That's why I like business. It's all about them getting ahead in business. There's no politics. I feel like mostly.
Yeah, I mean there is, right? But I think if you're who you say you are and you prove who you are and you treat people with respect and you're selling a good product or you're selling yourself and you give all the information, I think the sky's the limit. I don't think it matters, unless you could get that one person, right? This is an off example, right? My Corvette's loud. I'm sure you heard it.
I heard it. I was like, is that him?
I'm sitting at a stoplight the other day on my way to the gym, and there's a guy in like a 1994 minivan next to me flipping me off. I'm doing nothing. Nothing. He's rolling down his window. Get that piece of shit off the road. And I'm like, piece of shit? Dude, you're in a fucking Astro van. Like,
An Astro.
what the fuck is wrong with my car? Oh, you polluting motherfucker. Like, everybody's going to have their own thought
Beliefs.
process and agenda. So, I mean, all you can do is just rev the fuck out of it and blow smoke in his face and move on.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
no one ever going to be happy about any one thing. There's always going to be somebody that has to say something, right? But like, it comes back to, if you stick to being you, don't ever change. Don't ever waver.
Right.
You may have a different thought process, or you may learn something else, or have more information that you gathered that could change your mind in a way, but you're still you. You still be your fucking self. The only true to this thing in the whole world is yourself. Be true to yourself.
How important is it for people to guard their mind from, negativity, or a lot of times it's family members that, your mom, it could be your dad that could tell you like, hey, you don't do this. They don't believe in you. But like, how important is?
I think you cut those people out, as far as like, not cut your mom and dad out, obviously, but you distance yourself from, you don't want to hear the negativity all the time. There is points to where you just take it in, you listen, right? You listen to their negativity, but it comes back to that thing. Surround yourself with the people you want to be around. I know that somebody's negativity constantly, I'm never going to fucking be around them anymore. Or I'm going to tell them straight up, dude, you're always so negative. I don't want to be around you. Like, change your mind. Like, it's a thought process. I want to be positive, and I want to be happy every single day. And all you're doing is talking bad about the world and yourself and this and that and the news and this. I was like, where's that getting you? Where's it getting you? How does it make you feel every day? Well, it makes me feel like shit. That's because you're in a negativity mind. You're negative.
Yeah.
If you think positive thoughts and you want to be positive and happy and go lucky or what have you, I think you really got to work on your mind to do it. Of course, there's times where I've been negative all the time, like selling my house. Oh man, these people are going to back out. They're going to back out. They're going to back out. And in my mind, I'm like, why am I putting that in the universe? Why am I being negative and saying they're going to back out? Because usually what you put out there is what you get back, right? So immediately you switch and be like, everything's going to go fine. They're going to sign the papers. They're going to go through with it. It's just being stupid and overreacting. You have to correct yourself. It's just like as if maybe you're getting ready to do something stupid and you snap and you're like, fuck, I ain't gonna do that. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Like that's all bad. You have to snap yourself. I know there's like, you see guys like Wes Watson on Instagram. He says every time he has a negative thought or a bad thing in his mind or whatever it means, like drinking, do drugs, or because that guy was in the penitentiary for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
He does 100 burpees.
Wow.
And he said it just switches his mind. So, I mean, I think there's things like that, that if you start having a negative thought, drop down and do push-ups. Don't matter where you are, right? Because at some point, your mind is going to go, dude, if you're negative thought, you're going to drop down and do push-ups. I don't want to do any more fucking push-ups, And I think that's what it comes down to, is punishing yourself for being negative, right? In a way that's not really punishment, but keeping that energy going forward. I think that really helps. But I think a negative mind is a wasteful mind, And in the past, I've been a negative person. I think I've had to grow quite a bit through reading books, and obviously with age and a family and a wife and 2 kids and business and, getting where I am today, negativity didn't get me there.
It seems like it's a good thing when you look back and say, wow, I was pretty bad. 'Cause that means you made improvement, and
Right.
like you could see it. You mentioned that you were pretty much about to die on COVID 3 years ago. Looking at you now, how fit you are, I couldn't never tell that. But why is it so hard for people to lose weight and stick to it when they try to do it? And I'm part of that camp because I've been working out for 2 weeks and I can't see results. And I'm like, man.
Tell you the truth, I struggle with losing weight too. I mean, I feel like I'm still overweight. I look good with a shirt on, right? I'm still not
No,
where I want to
I
be with
saw
a
you
shirt on.
online without a shirt.
But it's like, where do you want to be, right? And it's so hard because a lot of us have this relationship with food and this discipline issue to where we want to reward ourselves, right? Oh, I've done this hard for 2 weeks. Like, I can have this piece of cake. Fuck that shit, man. I earned that shit. Like I can have this pizza. It's Friday. We're going out to dinner. I was good all week, man. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to say no. But like everybody creates a habit within 21 days, they say in books and everything I've read and actually done.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay on track for 21 days, you teach your mind and train your body that you don't need that. And then after a while, when you get past that 21 days and you go try, you're like, oh, fuck, I'm sick. I don't want to ever eat that again.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start to continue to cheat and go back to your ways, even though you've been 2 weeks, like, oh, I'm in the 2 weeks, I'm not seeing any changes, then there's something in your process, man, that you're fucking up with. Because you got to see a little bit of progress in 2 weeks, right? Because, like, if you're not seeing something in 3-4 days
Mm-hmm.
and you've changed drastically the way that you're doing things, then you're fucking cheating. It just, I'm
You're
going to be
just
honest.
okay.
Right? Because, like, I know when I'm hardcore on a plan
Mm-hmm.
and I never fucking cheat, I constantly lose. But if I'm hardcore on a plan and I go out to dinner on Friday nights, I kind of like lose all week and then jump right back up.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said because if I was to say, hey, if I'm not losing weight and I'm acting like I'm doing everything, I must be cheating somewhere. And if I just acknowledge that I'm taking responsibility, then I can fix it. But if I act like I'm working out but nothing's happening, now I'm acting like it's not in my control, so there's nothing I can fix. So I don't, because I'm a huge person on like people taking accountability. I
Right.
think that's like a sign of maturity.
Right.
So I like the fact that you said that. But why do you think so? Do you think people lose motivation really early? Let's say they are doing everything, but they don't get results as fast as they can. Like how do you see that?
I don't think they lose the motivation. I think they lose the discipline and they get exhausted. They get tired. And I think it is that they just don't want to fucking do it anymore. They feel like they were happier when they were fat because you have a relationship with food and you have a relationship with feeling good when you eat, right? You feel really good when you eat, like, oh my God, this tastes so fucking good. Like, this is where it's at right here. And then an hour later, you're like, oh my fucking God, my stomach hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It's that love-hate relationship. And the next day you look in the mirror, like, Jesus Christ. Like, why did I do that? It's regret. It's filled with regret. If you would have just said no,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard, dude. Like, I have a problem. Like, I like to eat. I'm like, before I started cutting again, dude, I was like 274 pounds. I'm like 5'9" and some change. That just doesn't look good on me, Like, you got to do something. And I think that people get tired of eating the same shit or doing the same thing or counting their macros, and it's just a constant. They feel like it's a job,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when you go out to dinner and you party, you don't feel like that's a job. You feel like it's fun.
Easy.
But when you start seeing results and you start seeing some abs pop through, or you start seeing like, oh, damn, this here and this here, like, okay, like I ain't giving up now. Like, I've dropped a couple pounds, but I got a lot more to go. My wife kind of does the same thing, right? She works out every day, hardcore. But she's a thicker girl, and she has a problem losing weight. And she's like, I count my macros, I do this, I do that. I was like, okay, did you count that slice of butter you put on that piece of raisin bread? Did you count this, creamer in your coffee? Did you count this? Did you count? Well, no, that doesn't count. Like, there's an extra 400, 500, 600 calories there, or sugar or carbs or whatever it may be. And you may be doing everything right, but it's those little things
Mm-hmm.
that could be holding you back. Or it's, well, I didn't have anything to eat today but this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your metabolism said, I'm not working today because that's all you had to eat, right? I kind of been on this thing I've been fasting from 8 p.m. to noon every day.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for the last 3 weeks, and I've dropped 10 pounds.
Wow.
It's hard as fuck. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wake up starving in the morning, but then I'm like, dude, just do it. And now I'm like, okay, I can make
Why
it.
do you do that?
So basically, your body can actually process all the food, right? and it gets your stomach empty. And then at the last couple hours, your body starts metabolizing, burning fat, burning fat, burning fat. And you're not starving. Your body's beating the fat off your body. And I feel like it helps with digestion. I feel like it helps with like your overall skin and your health. You just feel better. But then sometimes you catch yourself like only eating one meal a day. And then it's like, I just ate a massive meal, but I'm like not even hungry anymore. So I haven't really figured it out, to tell you the truth, all the way. Everything that I do is kind of an experiment. I know I can drop 20, 30 pounds and eat 7, 8 meals a day and have my macro. I know that works. And, I'm an asshole to sit here and say that I don't have time for it, because I do. It just that comes to that thing like, I got to meal prep. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I really shouldn't. Sometimes I do, but I fall off all the time. And, and I'm honest with myself. You're still fat because you're not doing the right things. And I have a buddy named Thomas Miller that's been kind of coaching me, even though I can coach myself. But you always need someone there
Right.
to tell you you're fucking fat still, right? And I have check-ins with him every single morning, Saturday morning. Now, not only am I helping people try to lose weight and writing plans, I think you have to have a coach for yourself. People think like, oh, I can't afford, coaching, or I can't afford a mentorship, or I can't afford, to invest in myself. And I can do it on my own. I can do it on my own. You know what? I thought that for years, man. And I think that if you count up all the money that you're spending on fast food or shit like car parts or, whatever it is that you buy or that you do, if you just take the time to hire a coach and invest in yourself, you're going to skyrocket because you have somebody holding you accountable. You have somebody that's done it before. You have somebody that has the knowledge, that's maybe a multimillionaire, that maybe he's shredded as fuck, that's on stage, or they know the body better than you. But not only that, you're sending your pictures on Saturday and you think you look good, man, and he gets them and he writes you back and he's like, you're still fucking fat. And out of 10, how would you say you followed the plan this week? And I have to look at my macros and I have to look at what I logged, and I'm like, fuck, probably an 8. He's like, that's why you're not seeing changes. So if you're not willing to put in the work or put in a 10 out of 10 and do it, you're not going to lose like you're supposed to, right? I'm still steadily staying the same. I mean, I travel a lot for work, but that shouldn't count. That doesn't matter, right? I was packing my meals for a while. But I think if you have that coach or that mentor or somebody that you pay, that helps, you're going to do the fucking work.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in a coach, and even I feel like even a coach needs a coach, in my own opinion, because for the longest time I was doing my own sales thing, and I was like, okay, I learned a little bit, and I started thinking I'm pretty good. You know how salespeople get cocky and like, okay, I could teach all these other salespeople, and then I get to a point where I was like, oh, I know everything, but then I decided to get a coach, and then I realized how much I don't know. So you were telling me how your coach tells you, hey, you're fat, you're this, you're that, get your ass up, go do your thing.
Yeah.
How do you think, because that's a similar message that Andrew Tate kind of puts out there, how do you feel about the way he puts out his messages?
I love Andrew Tate. I think he tells it how it is, and I think that the world needs that. A lot of this world is everybody gets a fucking participation trophy, right? I saw a Facebook post the other day. It says, if you're one of those kids or you're a team that doesn't include the kid because he's not good enough, you should be ashamed of yourself. Fuck that shit, man. If he's not good enough to be on the team, he shouldn't be on the goddamn team. This isn't like, you try out for these teams. You try out to be on the team. If you want to be the team, you want to be on the team, go fucking work. Work hard, come back next year and make the goddamn team. I don't think that everybody should play. I don't think everybody should hit. I don't think everybody should be on the team. I think the world needs to slap them in the face and say, you're not fucking good enough. Get better. Instead, in California is the biggest fucking place in the world for that, right? It's, oh, just come on over. We'll take care of you. It's okay. It's okay to not have a job. I'll pay you.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to not pay your mortgage. You could stay in the house and let that motherfucker eat it and not survive because he can't pay his bills because he's renting you that house. It's okay to have better medical care because you don't have a job and we're over here paying $1,500 a month for insurance. I don't believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're taking advantage of the system and we're pushing it on them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I feel that if you work hard, you reward,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I'm working hard and I'm paying medical insurance, or if my kid's working his ass off to make the team, I don't think some Joe Schmo should make the team if he don't put in the work and he's not good enough.
I'm right there with you. Honestly, like you spoke my mind. And sometimes people think I'm too like harsh or
For
like,
sure.
oh, I criticize too much. But it's like, bro, like we all got to put in the work, and we get what we pay for in a sense. One thing that always, kind of it was, I've always struggled with this because now I have a couple of kids, and you have the kids and you want to be more harsh on them, but then sometimes you feel bad. So how do you raise a kid, especially if you raise a boy who is gonna have some balls to go out there and
Yeah.
get it, so it's not somebody soft. 'Cause nowadays you see people are too soft nowadays, like you got to make sure you walk on eggshells around them or whatever. Because you have some kids a little older, you probably had a.
I have two kids. I have one that's 18 and one that just turned 9.
Mm-hmm.
So my little 9-year-old, he plays competitive baseball, travel baseball. And you're right. In my growing up, and I'm sure you growing up, my dad was hard on me, man. Like, he always told me, like, you got to outwork everyone. Like, if you're not going to be big enough, you're not going to be fast enough, you're not going to be smart enough, you're not going to hit as well, you're going to throw as hard, you got to fucking outwork them and do those little things. Make yourself better in the little other things to be better. And that pushed in my brain for my whole life. And I owe it to my dad, right? And to me, he's my real dad, but he's my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
And, I never knew my real father, but it's those kind of things that instill in you the rest of your life where you get that work ethic. And I'm trying to do that for my kids. And I think that's where you have that co-parent with you, right? And I think, kids are lucky to have two parents in the family that are still together because you get both sides, right? I could be like, bro, you suck today. Like, you need to work on this. You need to work on that. You need to work on this. You need to do this better. And then you got your wife being like, you know what, bud, you did a good job on this, but you did that and you did this and you did that. So he has one guy beating his ass and he's got the other woman telling her, like, you did okay in some spots. So he's getting both from angles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But inside, I've learned that I can't pound them all the time. I can't be like, dude, why you did this, you did that, you did this. So now I've taught myself, because I've learned, to say, hey, bud, great game today. There's a couple of things that you did amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some things I think you need to work on. And these are those things. And I said, if you want to get better, we can go to work. But if you don't, then you're going to stay mediocre and you're going to keep making the same mistakes. Or I go, man, you had a shitty game today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think that you did wrong? Before I go into anything, what do
You
you
get
think?
his confirmation that he wants to do better.
Yeah. And he goes, you know what, Dad, I swung at this ball in the dirt, or I didn't take this route here, or I left the base too early here. He knows where he fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he's confirming to you that he knows that he wants to do better. So I don't even need to get in his ass. He
Mm-hmm.
already did it for me. But before, when and I've been wrong in the past with my first son, I think I was too hard on him. I think I was just like pushing myself on him so hard. You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, because that's how I was raised, right? And that's how we're old souls. I was born in 79. Like, if you didn't fucking work hard, and I'm almost 45 years old, it's like, you're not going to get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But now the world gives you everything. And I've kind of been a bad parent in a way to where I've given my kids a lot, and what do they say? Tough times make tough men. Easy times make easy men.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of a victim to that, like doing that for my kids, and I've been changing it the last couple of years. I've been really trying, even though I came from nothing. So I want to give my kids everything.
I can see how that's easy to do if you came from not having too much, and then all of a sudden you have it all. You feel like you want to give it to your kids.
Yeah, and I still do, but it's like with my youngest son, I'm like trying to really learn like where did I maybe go wrong with my oldest, even though my oldest has got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of things going for him. I think he just needs to learn how to fail. And once he fails and picks himself up, I think he'll just be astronomical, like just some guy that I don't even recognize anymore. He'll just be killing it.
Yeah, because I think that failure teaches you a lot.
Yeah.
You know, even me going in my like entrepreneurial like journey or whatnot, I feel like all the mistakes that I made or all the problems we've had, they just built such a tolerance for more problems to come, but also it taught us all of our processes and everything we do now.
Yeah.
That I feel like if I had to start something from scratch now, I would just be so much better, you know, just
Carbon
from all the
copy.
failure.
Yeah. Because you know what you did wrong to fail before, right? I think failure shapes us as human beings and they shape us to be better. Now, some people fail and they stay down. And I think this world that we live in keeps them down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my opinion. They do everything in their power to keep them down from failing. Like they have no way out but to live off the government.
Mm.
And I feel like people like us or people that have drive and motivation need to help people like that and tell them that you believe in them. But you got to believe in yourself to do better. And I think that's why I'm able to go to places and speak, and some corporations hire me to speak to their production line people. Mm-hmm. You got to think these people are like doing the fucking same thing all fucking day, dude. Like, that's got to make you depressed, right?
Yeah.
You think in your mind, like, fuck, this is depressing.
I feel like I would be.
Yeah, me too. Like, you're in a big factory doing the same shit, and you're counted by hours of how many products you do or whatever. So my whole thing is to go in there and go, like, what makes it fun for you guys? What makes this job fun? What makes you want to come to work every day? And don't say it's the money. Mm-hmm. Like, there's got to be some reason besides the money that you show up every day and you want to do this. And some people will say, well, I got to survive. Mm-hmm. Right? So my job is to go in there and say, you're more. You can have more than this. Even though the company probably doesn't want to hear that, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that you want to leave the company. It means that you're going to do kick-ass at your job. So maybe you can move up in the company and have more, mm-hmm. right? Or maybe you're going to make a planning job like, oh man, this last week I did 2,500 per hour. This week I'm going to go for 3,000. Mm-hmm. Like, there's got to be something. You got to give yourself goals and tasks and to do better each day. And I think my job going in there and speaking to these people to give them hope, to give them the goals and aspirations and the, I guess you say, the spark mm-hmm. to like be alive, right? I don't think that anybody ever tells these people, like, believe in yourself, man. Mm-hmm. Make something out of what you're doing. I don't give a shit if you're shoveling shit all day. Like, you be the best shit shoveler there is.
Right.
That's how you're going to make it. And, I feel like you and I and other people in this world have worked our asses off for a very long time. And, we've eaten fucking ramen noodles for months at a time and driving shit boxes and fucking, whatever it may be to make life and make it do. But look at us now. Right.
One thing I ask my salespeople all the time when they hit certain numbers or like when I feel like they kind of hit a ceiling, I ask them this genuine question and I say, hey, do you think this is the best you can do? And the answer is always no. Of course I could do better. So I say, well, that's why I want more from you, because I know you could do better. But if this is the best you can do, well, then I'll be fine with that. But as long as you answer no, we're gonna push for more. You know, and that's I feel like everyone, if they were to be asked that question, they would probably feel like they could do better.
Yeah. I think you could have, everybody thinks they can do better, but they'd have nobody telling them they could do better. So in their mind, like, well, maybe this is the best it gets, but they don't have somebody believing in them telling them, like, bro, you got so much talent, you could do better. Because you could see it in people, right? When somebody's just going to be shit and somebody's going to be great. Somebody's mm-hmm. going to put in the work and somebody's not. Somebody's milking the position mm-hmm. for the salary and somebody's not, right? So one thing that I've had teammates do or my team do in the past is, all right, man, we're having a meeting today. You know, bring as many magazines as you can, and I'll supply the boards and the markers. We're going to make vision boards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to put on there everything you see yourself having if you just absolutely crush it here. Absolutely crush it. And some of these things that you put up, and they all put them up in their desks and their walls, and they're fired up, right? Because I have a vision board.
Mm-hmm.
I put my Corvette on that vision board a year ago. I got it. You know, it's nothing big. It's a 2000 C5 Corvette. But like whatever I put on that board, I put my truck on there. I put my house on there. I put my boat on there. I put things that I want to accomplish and get.
Mm-hmm.
And they always come true. If you can see it, you can believe it, and you can achieve it, right? So if nobody ever has a vision, they don't see something every single day. You know, it's kind of like that thing where I think I saw it on Instagram, TikTok. You close your eyes and it has an apple. What do you see? Some people don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel if you don't see anything, you're not a visionary, right? You don't see what's in front of you. I close my eyes and I feel like the future flashes in front of me. And I feel like I can get anything I want. It's just a matter of time, you know, but I feel like I'm always running out of time.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard this quote by Jim Rohn. Well, he talks about how if someone doesn't do better, it's because they don't have enough reasons to.
Yeah.
So he's big on having the reasons for it, and he talks about setting goals and
Yeah.
things like that. But you make a good point. Like you're not seeing your target. You
No.
don't see where you want to go. So how are you gonna get there?
Yeah.
Blindfolded.
I mentor a young kid. He's 15. I've been mentoring him since he was 14. Met him bike racing at the track, and his name's Lincoln. He's like one part of my family now. But when I was young, I didn't really have much, but I had this next door neighbor that had all these badass cars and these boats, and he worked at Tognotti's, but he lifted and lowered cars at night, and he sold cars. He did this, he did that. And now he's a multi-millionaire, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he instilled in me that, like, dude, you don't have to be here. You don't have to be this way. You don't have to live in this neighborhood. You don't have to be just another statistic. You can do more. And let me give you the tools. Let me show you how.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these people in their mindsets, let's say you're poor, right? Or you're living in the ghetto, or, your mom works hard, your grandma works hard, your grandpa works hard, and you guys are all living together, and everybody's just busting their ass, but they're never even getting anything more. And I think that's what the world is today, right? You work for the man, right? But I think if you have the mindset, the more you put in, the more you get out, and you don't want to be that way, you can. But I think that it's passed down by generations, statistically, right? You've seen that before, because they've never been shown anything different. If you see that all your life, you think that's all you can expect, and that's all you're going to hope for.
Yeah.
So if you never have anything showing you different, you never have anybody pushing you different, you don't have anybody telling you the books to read or to get better or to study or do this, or, think of a business you want to start now when you're 15 years old, and then maybe someday, or invest in life insurance plan and let it grow over time, because it never goes. Like, if you never have somebody coaching you, it comes back to being a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a mentor or whatever. You're never going to get to where you want to go, because somebody's already done it. And if nobody ever coaches you to do it, you're never going to get there. And I think you can teach yourself all the things you want in the world, like Andrew Tate and all those guys, and they've made it. But I guarantee they had somebody along the way coach them.
I feel like they probably still do. That's one thing I was going to ask you. How do you, because I'm a believer in books as well, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's the easiest way to buy a coach.
Yeah.
Because you can pretty much, through the book, you get anybody's mind, right?
Yeah.
But how do you find a mentor or a coach if you're just trying to get started, or you want motivation, or you want to accomplish something?
I think, with all the things today, you could literally go online or fucking AI or whatever and say, what are the best books I can read to become successful in sales or in relationships or whatever it may be? It'll give you a fucking list, right? Start there.
Mm-hmm.
And then set a goal like, I'm going to read a book a month. Start there. There's, what, 12 months a year, there's 12 books a year, right? Next thing you know, that you're going to love reading so much and learning so much. And then that every time that you're out in the world and you run into somebody, you're fucking throwing up all over them of what you read. And then you start realizing, like, holy shit, I know so much. Like, where can I apply this? Right? And then you start looking at like jobs or something else, or maybe an entrepreneurship or what you want to be, and you apply it. And you're like, God damn it. Now I need somebody who's in this job to tell me how to do this. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to tell you, hey, man, you should read this book and I want you to report back to me. Because then I know you're reading it, and then we're applying it, and then we're going to coach on it, and then I'm going to give you these steps. Everything that every coach does is they outline a program to win.
That makes sense.
It's a blueprint.
Their blueprint to what they did, and they kind of put it in the beginning. When I first started getting into like the sales or trying to do business, I kept hearing people online talk about find a mentor. But in my mind, a mentor was like somebody famous that coaches or something. I was like, how could I ever do that? Like, I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, I'm looking around in my everyday life, like, who do I talk to? So I started reading books. So I think that is a good idea.
I started reading books, and then I paid for that Grant Cardone class, dude.
Which one?
It was one a long time ago. I think it was like 100. If you broke it down, it was like $150 a month for like 12 months, right? And I didn't have the money to pay it all up front, but he made it payments. But you could take all the online courses you want, and like they gave you all the tools to be successful. And I did it. Like, I was just like, fuck that. I want to be the best. Like, I want to learn something that nobody else is paying for to learn. And like, you know, obviously there's still some people going to be better, but you're going to have a leg up. And then when you go into the business, you're going to fucking kill it. And since then, every business that I've ever been to, every corporation that I've ever come to, I've always been the number one guy. Always. I started out at the bottom, and the next thing you know, I'm your fucking manager. You know, this is just the way it works.
I love that, yeah.
And then you're like, I'm going to teach that guy how to take my job, because then I'm going to get promoted. And then that's kind of how it goes, right?
You just made a really good point there too, because a lot of people don't think, hey, I'm gonna train the next one so I can move up. Because I think, even in our company, we're like, hey, if this guy wants to move up, who's going to replace him?
You have to have a replacement,
right? And even the guy who is in that position, if he wants to move up, he doesn't know that the fact that we don't know about his replacement yet, it's holding him back.
I was taught that at a corporation called UniFirst Corporation, the uniform company. Great company for sales, door B2B, hardcore sales, right? And they give you all the tools, and they teach you, and they got a really good sales plan. And one of the things was, one of the GMs, he always said, if you're not coaching anybody to replace you, you're never getting promoted. How are you going to do that? How are you going to move up and take my job if you're not teaching somebody else to take your job? Because then I got to go find somebody. I'm not going to promote you if you don't have anybody take your job. And then you got to prove to me and show to me that they're good enough to take your job. So that always stuck with me. Like, I always got to make somebody just as good as me so I can move up.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to be better, and then I'm going to make them just as good as me so I can move up.
Yeah, and that's kind of, it's a good thing to know and be conscious of, because I feel like a lot of times when we're at the top, sometime if you see better talent, you can become a little insecure and be like, oh man, what if all of a sudden this guy knows more than me and I'm not the top guy anymore, or who knows what. But if you don't think about it that way, and you think about it as far as like, maybe I can train somebody into my position, I can move up, or I have bigger plans, then that's a better way to look at it, a healthier way, especially for a company.
I think people like you and I and other people in the world love not being all the top guy all the time, right? You love somebody that's better so you can beat them. I think it's that drive that is instilled in your heart and in your mind and your brain that, like, I want to be better. And, that leads me to, I think that you have to not be as good as somebody else to be better. But also, there's a lot of people in this world that don't want you to be as good as them. They don't want to share information with you. They don't want to coach you. They're afraid that you're going to beat them. And my mindset is, I want you to be better than me. I want to give you anything and everything that I could possibly give you to be better than me. Because I think that if you have that drive and that character and that to give to somebody else, I think the more you give in this world to make people better, the more you get. And I honestly believe that. So in my life, I have changed. I used to be like, God damn it, I'm cocky. Like, I don't want this fucking guy beating me. Like, why would I tell him all my tips and tricks? You know? But then I started realizing, like, I gotta help these people. Like, the more I give, the more I get. The more people around me that know just as much as me or get better than me, they're gonna learn things and teach me. So I think if you just build soldiers, the sky's the limit, man. I think if you, the more, like I said, the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah, if you invest in your team, it's
Yeah.
gonna take you a lot further than you being the
And
main.
you know, the more people you help, man, don't you feel good?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
The
it
more
feels good.
the more people that you help, it doesn't have to be money, it doesn't have to be anything, but the more people that you help, even through the podcast, you look how many people you're touching, right? From this conversation, I guarantee it helps somebody. The more people that we help, the better life is.
True.
I think it's God's plan, man. I think it's for the righteous ones that do care about people. I think it's and you know, people may not believe in God or universe or whatever, which is fine. But I think and I feel that the more I help others, the more I'll get in return. And I don't help others just because I'm going to get more back. I help others because I genuinely love to see people win. I want to see everybody win. Like, I want to see you win. If it's beating me, great. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to work harder because I'm going to come back and take that throne back, you know? And I think that people have to have that mindset, and I think it's hard.
How important do you think it is for people to have to be fed like spiritually? Because I heard you talk about that a little bit, and a lot of people are talking about it. Most people don't directly refer to their own belief, but they say you should have a belief or something to believe in,
Yeah.
something of a higher power. How important do you think it is for people to have that?
I want to tell you something. I think that my life has been good, but until I really started believing in God and put my faith in His hands and asking Him and talking to Him and putting it out in the universe that, you know, I'm here to serve, my life has been extremely better. And I know that some people may not think that and don't believe in God, or which is fine, man. It's 100% fine. I think everybody can have their own beliefs. For me personally, once I started believing and once I started having my faith in God, my life has improved. And I can say that honestly and openly. And I talk to Him every day, you know, and I thank God every day. And, you know, like there's a song, Hard Work, God First. And I think it's 100% true, you know. It's just,
Yeah, it seems like, especially if you're like a religious person or like you said, I thank God every day. I think starting off the day with that kind of gratitude. And not you're not expecting nothing back. You just kind of, things are going to go well. I think it's a good way to start your day.
and I think in the past, I've never been grateful for what I've done or what I've had. And my wife used to tell me that when like we first started dating, she's like, you have all these achievements, all this success, but you're never grateful for any of it. Like you just want to just keep going and more and more and more and more and more. And that was my mindset, right? And then, you know, she came into my life and you know, her grandma and my, you know, I call her Grammy. I feel like they instilled God in me. Like, you know, we started going to church, and we don't go to church every Sunday. I'm not telling you to go to church every Sunday, but I read the Bible and I talk to Him, and I feel like I have an open mind, and I feel like He leads me in the direction that I need to go. And I feel like if you serve, you'll be served. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I think there's a higher power. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's God, but I think that if you really are gratitude and grateful for what you have, I think it shows and it moves you forward in life.
Right on, man. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I
Yeah,
really
I'm sure
appreciate you. I had a
we've
really
been for a
good
while.
time, and I bet that maybe we could do it again.
Yeah,
next
for sure,
time.
man. For sure.
And if anybody is interested to follow him online, he's got a lot of messages, and
Yeah.
I one thing that caught my eye was your motivational talk online. I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I started watching more and more. So I think if you follow him online, you'd get a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's Instagram is just my first and last name, Anthony Bitker. And then, follow me on there. My supplement company is No Surrender Life.
Go buy something, try it, and then give him some feedback.
I try to live every day like I got no fucking surrender. And when I was in hospital, that's kind of how I came up with that saying. It's like, you never give up, never surrender. And that's how I keep moving every day, man.